Hello, and welcome to my still unnamed podcast. I do want to give a trigger warning for this episode because I will be mentioning blood, and that is because this podcast episode will be talking about how to donate blood. So, if you don't know me, I volunteered at a lot of blood drives in high school, so I got to really see what people needed to do in order to donate blood and have a smooth donation. So I'm going to be basing this episode off of one of my earliest articles on this blog, actually, and it is just called Donating Blood. And basically, in this article, I walked you through the steps to donating and some tips that you should definitely remember. So let's get started. So, before you donate, you have to keep a couple of things in mind. And one of those things is to just drink a lot of water. And I tell everybody that it is every nurse's and phlebotomist's dream of someone who has veins that pop out. And you think I'm kidding, but I am not. That is just it's just our favorite. So, in order to do that, and in order for us to easily find your vein, you need to be drinking a lot of water. But in addition to water, you should also be drinking a sports drink simply so you can just attain some electrolytes and not lose a lot of it during your donation. Now, the second thing that I wanted to point out is to stock up on your iron, especially if you are a woman, because obviously when you're donating blood, you are going to be losing a lot of iron. And in order to do that, you can eat things like red meat or leafy greens. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. You can't eat it with calcium or anything dairy, really, because that calcium will just absorb the iron and your consumption is pretty much useless. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up for that as well. Now, my third thing that I listed was to eat a good breakfast the morning of. I remember at my first blood drive that I worked at, a girl that I will not name went in to donate, and then she started to feel really dizzy and faint afterwards. And I asked her if she ate breakfast that morning, and she told me no. So I had to go to the cafeteria and get her some lunch, and she felt a lot better after that. But yes, it is so important that you eat the morning of, because if you don't have anything and you're fasting, then you're just gonna be losing energy. All right, now the last thing I wanted to note in your process of preparing for your donation is to know your medical history if you can. And I only say that because when you walk into your donation, somebody will be giving you papers and you have to fill out your medical history. And this is a very thorough medical history since you are donating your body organs. And by the way, blood is the only organ that is liquid. So if you didn't know that, now you do. All right, now we get to the actual donation. And if you've prepared well, you should have a smooth donation. And all you have to do is just sit back, relax, and let the needle suck all the blood out of you. So I hope you have a smooth donation. And then afterwards, you have to take care of yourself a little bit, again, because you've lost. Usually they take about a pint. After you lose about a pint of blood, you're pretty depleted of nutrients. So I want to remind you to just keep drinking water. And we also advise that you eat right after donating just to get something in your system. And then at least on the day of donation, we also advise that you refrain from tedious exercise because we just don't want you to faint. And the last and most important thing is to just rest and let your body do its work. Now, because we are in a pandemic and there's an urgent need for blood donations, and by the way, I wrote this article and published it back in July of 2020 when the pandemic was relatively new. And at the time I'm recording this, it is August of 2021. The pandemic is still around. We are entering a fourth wave because of the Delta variant, so I would imagine blood donations are still exceedingly low. So because of the pandemic, the FDA released some guidelines on uh who can and can't donate, and it particularly aims at people who have had, or sorry, men who have sex with men, or basically anybody who's at risk of HIV, which, by the way, is very homophobic because it's just the stereotype that only gay men can contract HIV when that is indeed not true. But anyways, that's what the guidelines say. And it also is targeted at people who lived in England during a certain time, and they really only do that just to decrease the likelihood of you spreading what is called mad cow disease, because there was an outbreak of that in England in, I think, the 1980s. I'm not sure about that, but you're gonna have to look that up. But assuming you're my age, you probably don't need to worry about that. But if you want a more detailed summary of those like revised guidelines from the FDA, those are probably still on their website. By the way, those revised FDA guidelines that I have on my blog have not been updated since July of last year, so you will definitely need to check anyways, just to be sure that the stuff I have is updated, but it should be okay. Now, I did include a couple of fun facts at the end of this article, and my first one that I typed out was that a single unit of donated blood can save up to 3 lives, and just think about how cool that is. And I said in my article that you are a literal lifesaver, because you quite literally are saving lives. And the other thing that I mentioned at the bottom of my article is that you can actually make money, especially if you're like in college and you need some quick, easy money. You can donate plasma, and some places will give you money for your donation, sometimes for blood, but usually I've heard plasma donations can get you some money, and you can actually donate plasma up to 2 to 3 times a week, since it is just water. So as long as you're staying hydrated, you can be making like $60 in 1 week easily. Now, my next thing that I listed is that you can actually list donating blood as community service on your resume, because think about how cool and unique that looks to a future employer. Like, you're saving lives. That's pretty impressive. And then the last thing that I mentioned in this article is that a blood donation actually leaves you feeling pretty refreshed, because once you lose all of those old blood cells, your body will be making new ones, and then oddly enough, your body will be feeling quite refreshed afterwards. But anyways, that's all that I wanted to mention about blood donations. I hope this helped you, and I really, really hope that you donate blood in the future, especially the near future during this pandemic, because I know so many hospitals need some right now. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.